This is the fifth Sunday of Easter, and Easter lasts for several weeks, 40 days actually. And in these 40 days, we spend some time talking about what is the significance of this resurrection life and this resurrection story. And the lectionary brings us to 1 John chapter 4. One of the readings, the New Testament reading, is 1 John chapter 4, verses 7 through 21. Beloved, let us love one another, because love is from God. Everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, for God is love. God's love was revealed among us in this way. God sent His only Son into the world so that we might live through Him. In this is love, not that we loved God, but that He loved us and sent His Son to be the atoning sacrifice for our sins. Beloved, since God loved us so much, we ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God. If we love one another, God lives in us, and His love is perfected in us. By this we know that we abide in Him, and He in us, because He has given us of His Spirit. And we have seen and do testify that the Father has sent His Son as Savior of the world. God abides in those who confess that Jesus is the Son of God, and they abide in God. So we have known and believed the love that God has for us. God is love, and those who abide in love abide in God, and God abides in them. Love has been perfected among us in this, that we may have boldness on the day of judgment, because as He is, so are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not reached perfection in love. We love because He first loved us. Those who say, "I love God," and hate their brothers or sisters are liars. For those who do not love a brother or sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen. The commandment we have from Him is this: those who love God must love their brothers and sisters also. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. You may not know this, but a virtual uprising broke out in heaven among all the angels when God announced one day that He was about to create the universe. Yes, you didn't know that. It's on the internet, so it must be true. Angels from across the empty space had all sorts of opinions about this proposed plan of God's. And nothing in the plan created more stir than the part of the plan that was revealed on what was called celestial links, or actually celestial leaks. I guess kind of a WikiLeaks for angels or something. Everyone was abuzz by the fact that this new creation would not be made perfect. Tremendous disagreement over this part of the plan. No one could understand this. Why in heaven's name would God go through all this trouble to create this vast universe and decide not to make it flawless? I mean, some said it would be better that God didn't do it at all. Just forget it. It was said that he planned to create it good. That was in the plans. The celestial leaks made that obvious. In fact, they said He planned to make it very good, but it wouldn't be perfect. How could anything good, they argued, not be perfect? Isn't that the definition of good? The angels held protests. They organized rallies, sit-ins, or maybe for them, hover-ins, arguing that there should be no possibility for suffering or pain or discomfort in this new universe. That would be ridiculous. They claimed that people would think there was no God if there was pain and difficulty and suffering. They would think that God didn't care for them. It would be bad PR if the world and the universe was not perfect. That he was incompetent if the world was not perfect. Others made the point that if you don't make the universe perfect, it would appear reckless and irresponsible. They said there should be no opportunity in this created, beautiful world for mistakes. No opportunity for heartache. Definitely no possibility for sickness or death. There should be no cruelty and no vulnerability. That way all creation would remain safe and secure. And everyone would be happy all the time. They reasoned, isn't that the goal anyway? No one would need to suffer. Nothing bad could ever happen. No one would ever get hurt. There would be harmony and tranquility and cooperation. Believe me, we all want this for the world when you have children. You want this for their world. God, in His infinite patience, let them express their opinions. Hundreds of years the debate went on and the conversation went on. I don't know how long it went on. A long time. And then God said He wanted to ask a simple question that made all the angels stop flapping their wings and their jaws for just a moment. He asked this question. How, may I ask, can love ever exist in a perfect world? In a perfect world, there's no vulnerability, so no need to depend on anyone. No impulse for relationships in a perfect world. In a perfect world, no need to rely on others because you have no needs. And others have no need to rely on you. In a perfect world, there's no need for forgiveness or mercy. No one would even need kindness, really. No one would ever get hurt, so there'd be no need for comfort. No one would suffer, so there'd be no need for helping others, because no one needs help. And there's no motivation for prayer. What would we pray about in a perfect world? In a perfect world, there's no instinct to connect with anyone. In a perfect world, you are perfectly, completely, and totally alone. But you're perfect. If God is love, as John says twice in this passage, then this imperfect world, this imperfect universe, this flawed place is the only world God had the capacity to create. In an imperfect world, in a perfect world, in a perfect universe, love cannot exist. Therefore, God cannot exist. If right now we had the power and we could snap our fingers and that fast create a world that had no flaws, we never got sick, nothing ever went wrong, we never made a mistake, we never were wronged, we never wronged anyone else, we never faced death or any disease, there was no natural disaster, no earthquakes, no hurricanes, we were safe, secure, content 100% of the time, we would never have a problem. Would you snap your fingers? Sometimes. Sometimes I would. But what if in order to have that kind of world, you'd also never feel the need for anyone else? You wouldn't need love from God or others because you'd always be content and happy. Everything would always go your way. You'd never feel the need for love. Would you still make the deal? If you could never love or feel loved, would you still snap your fingers? We'd be tempted sometimes. But I'm not sure we'd like the results. We connect with each other We connect with God, and maybe even in some ways we connect with ourselves through a bucketful of tears. In my allegory, a bunch of angels continue to hate God's plan. They think it's too risky. It will create chaos and bad press. So they rebel against the plan and begin an effort to provide the world with perfection. They do not believe that love is enough or better than perfection. They think perfection is better. If it's a choice between love or perfection, they believed perfection was better. A controlled universe is better than a free one. And ever since then, the quest for perfection has been the enemy of God. And more evil has been generated in the name of seeking perfection than any other force in the universe. But here we are today, in this place together, sharing our life together because we live in a messy, imperfect world, and we are imperfect and messy also. Maybe the most important message of the Trinity is that even God isn't perfect alone. He's a Trinity in relationship. The nature of reality is relationship, not perfection. The goal of the universe is relationship, not perfection. Life comes through relationship. Right here in 1 John, when John talks about God, he does not say God is perfection. Therefore, try to be perfect as best you can at all times. And be really upset and depressed when your life isn't perfect. No. He says God is love. 14 sentences are in our text today. And 28 times John uses the word love. 28 times John uses this word love. There are only 3 sentences without love in it. Only 3. John is direct, but mainly his directness is because he doesn't want us to be fooled. And mainly he doesn't want us to miss out on the real thing. Real life, John says, comes from love. And love comes from God. That's the basic message. But so often we can be fooled. We sometimes think that the answer to life's mysteries is to find perfection, perfect circumstances, perfect health, perfect job, have the perfect children, or the perfect marriage, or the perfect income or bank account. We can sometimes allow our important relationships to take back seat, or maybe not even seek out relationships because we're too busy trying to find perfection in some area of our life. So we don't spend time with our friends or our family. We've all know what that's like. This is what we discover when we start taking students to places like Honduras or poor countries. It resets all their priorities, makes them question this notion of their lives. They've been told that finding the perfect life is what's most important. They discover the power of a shared life in these countries for some reason. In a place surrounded by imperfection and shortcomings. And maybe because of those obvious imperfections, they discover the power of love. They connect with people, those they go to visit, and with each other. And they connect with people not distracted by the promise of finding the perfect life. So John is the love apostle. And he makes some bold statements. If we love one another, then God lives in us. If you love one another, then God lives in you, John says. Whoever does not love doesn't know God. No matter what our brains tell us, no matter what our brains know, if we don't love, then we're not connected in with who God is. In this is love. Not that we love God, but that He loved us. When I held our new granddaughter for the first time 2 weeks ago, I thought about this fact that she was entering an imperfect world. And for a moment, I hated that thought. I stared into those innocent, beautiful brown eyes and wanted to protect her. I didn't want her to ever suffer. I thought we would have a little family meeting and make a conversation out of how could we keep her from ever suffering. Let's all come up with a plan. After about 10 minutes of holding her, she started to cry because she got hungry. And I realized I'd already failed. Then the nurse started poking her with needles, and she got tired. And after 24 hours, I'm a slow learner, I realized that this wasn't going to work. She was born needy into an imperfect world, and she would need other people to survive. And then I realized that those feelings I had for her in that moment, that longing, that desire to care for her or protect her or shelter her or guard her, all of those feelings existed because of the imperfect world that we live in. They were all motivated by the fact, they all sprung out of the fact that they came from vulnerability and the recognition of vulnerability about the world we lived in. Without imperfection, those feelings, those impulses don't exist. We just become detached observers of a perfect world. None of us would like that. Emma became a reflection of God's perfect love to me in that moment. In an atmosphere of imperfection and needs, the only atmosphere in which love can take root and grow. We need one another. And we need one another because our lives are vulnerable. And life itself is vulnerable. We can want perfection to make life easier. We'd never trade love for perfection.